Hello, team. We're going to go through some defensive strategy. Defense is extremely important for us, right? It's the easiest way to win a game is to not let the other team score. So, again, defense is extremely important to us. So we're going to call this a little bit of a defensive shell here. So what I have set up is we're the red team that's on defense. The blue team is on offense. Most teams that we play against will probably play a 5-out type of offense. Regardless, these concepts should help regardless of whether they're playing 5-out or not. But just for ease of showing this, we'll show it as we're playing against a 5-out offense. First thing, the type of defense that we're playing is called a gap defense. So as you'll see, we got one has the ball here, and we want whoever is guarding the ball, we want them putting pressure on that ball. We want them putting pressure on their right hand, right? We don't want, most kids we play are going to be right-handed. So we don't want to allow them just to dribble right and get to the basket, right? We kind of want to take away that right hand and force them left because it's much harder for all of us to go left that are right-handed. So that's the first thing. Put pressure on the ball and really guard that right hand. The second thing you will notice, the reason we call this gap defense is that if you are guarding somebody who is one pass away from the ball, you need to be in the gap. So if the ball's with 1, 3 and 2 would be 1 passes away, right? 4 and 5 would be considered 2 passes away. They'd pass to here to pass to there. So that'd be 2 passes away. Same thing with 4. So again, we're talking about the guys guarding 2 and 3 here, being 1 pass away. The reason this is called gap defense is we want these guys in the gap. We don't want them way out on their guy. You want them roughly halfway between the ball and their and back a little bit. So that way it's really hard for 1 to drive to the lane, right? Because 3 can easily step defense. It's the same thing with number 2, right? He's 1 pass away from the ball. If number 1 were to try and drive, could get by our guy. 2 is there to help in that gap. So where do we want 4 and 5? Do we want them way out by their guys? No, because look at all that space that we get left open if we chase our guys out there. If you are 2 passes away, we better have at least 1 foot in the lane, right, or the paint, or whatever you want to call this, right? Inside the lane here is what I call it. I do not want us chasing guys way out here because the most important thing to stop is the ball, right? So if this guy were to drive and you're way out here, you won't be able to help, and they'll end up getting an easy layup, right? So we want you with 1 foot in the lane if you are 2 passes away. So if we move the ball around here a little bit, just to kind of see what other spots would look like, if the ball was here with number 3, number 5 would step up kind of in that gap, right? Again, he's 1 pass away from between the ball and his guy, so we want him in the gap there. So that way he's ready to help. And I should have said first that we want 3 to pressure that ball and pressure that right hand, right? Who's ever guarding the ball, do that. Be in the gap. 1, right, was pressuring the ball. Now needs to be in that gap, right? It's going to be really hard for 3 to drive the ball either way with those 2 guys in the gap. Number 2 is 2 passes away. Got 1 foot in the lane. When the ball's on a certain side, we really want you guys almost in the middle of the lane, right? So if number 2 is 2 passes away, number 4 is 3 passes away, right? Let's get all the way in here, right? It is really hard for this guy to drive and get an easy layup. So again, 1 and 5 would be gap, and 2 and 4 would be our backside help. If we're ever in a game and you happen to be guarding your guy way out here when the ball's there, right? We don't want that. You may hear me yell, sink, 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 right? then I want you to sink into the lane, right? I'll yell either sink or lane, right, to get here, right? We do not want to chase our guy out here. This guy's not a threat if the ball's way over here. Just for an example, if number 3 were to pass that ball, that's a really long pass. It is likely that if they try to pass that, you could jump and steal that pass for either 4 or 2. So let's move the ball here to another spot. Let's say it goes to the corner. First thing that we do is we pressure the ball, take away that right hand. Number 3 would then fall into that gap. 1 is, because they're 1 pass away, 1 is now 2 passes away, so they can sink down into the lane. 2 is 1, 2, 3 passes away, right, sink into the lane. And 4, right, is all his guys on the opposite side. We want you underneath the hoop. I think as Coach Mike taught me last year, we call this wearing the hat. You're underneath the hoop, right, and the rim is kind of your hat. Again, it makes it really hard for 5 to get into the lane. If we follow some of these basic principles here, get used to moving on defense, it will be really hard for the other team to score a basket. So we did the left side. Let's quickly do the right side. So if the ball got passed around, got all the way to 2, 2's pressuring that ball, taking away their dominant hand. 4 is 1 pass away from his guy. So in the gap. 1 is 1 pass away in the gap. 3 and 5 are more than 1 pass away, so we want them with at least 1 foot in the lane, probably 2 feet in the lane. So that way, if 2 drives, they can quickly step over, stop the ball, and really help on defense. Again, if the ball goes to the corner, 4 is going to go pressure the ball. 2 is 1 pass away, so they're going to go in the gap. 1 is 2 passes away into the lane. 3 and 5 into the lane, and now 5 is going to wear the hat if their guy is way over there. Again, I really got to remind us, the ball is the most important thing in basketball, right? So if your guy is on the opposite side and they're running around all over here, do you need to chase them? No. You need to first know where the ball is and protect the hoop. Because if they run up here, you don't have to run from here to chase them. You can just step up here and you still kind of got that angle, right? Because if they try to make that pass, that's a really long pass. You can easily run and steal that pass. So I'll put 5 back here, right? So again, just about every time that we set up, again, if the team is playing a 5-out offense, we're going to look like it almost looks like we're playing a zone defense, but we're not. We're playing what's called gap man-to-man defense, and we're just being ready to help. Again, if we do a really good job at this, the other teams will struggle to score.